Hey, fellow gamers and cosplayers. Thanks for tuning in again on another episode of MSP. You're currently watching ThatCosplayGuy, and I'm your host, Manny. Today, I'm joined by none other than David Gates, representing Osiris Studios, and today he's going to talk with us a little bit about their new upcoming title, Mist of Stagnation. Hey, it's good having you on our show today, David. Please tell us a little bit about your game and also a little bit about Osiris.
So, Mist Stagnation, it's a first-person shooter RTS hybrid. So the core element of the game is the first-person shooter part. What it's going to be, it's pretty easy to jump into and start playing right away. The RTS part is where we add the more strategy element into it. So in the game modes, you're going after control points, like you just hit there. Each of those is going to collect resources. Then each team will have the commander, which will use those resources to upgrade weapons, armor, speed, even spawn rate. So that's the real strategic part of it. What makes it different is our commander in the RTS mode isn't going to have the standard top-down view like you'd have in StarCraft or any other game like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be inside of a huge mech, which we might get lucky enough to see in here, but inside of his cockpit are the different RTS HUD elements. So you'll have like a tube that fills up with water to be your progress bar indicator on your upgrades, for example. You'll have the map, instead of a top-down view, is going to be very similar to like Game of Thrones intro, almost like a old 1920s battleship battle board where they push the pieces apart. But that's where he'll see the actual action on the map and be able to place things that the team needs. So, yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. What I thought would immediately caught my attention, and I'm sure it has, today and yesterday and throughout this weekend, is your take on steampunk and, introducing that into the concept of FPS as well as a little RTS that you were mentioning. I guess, where did that idea stem from? And based on your approach, how is it going to be different or in some maybe cases similar to, modern FPSs that gamers are used to?
Sure. So our take on steampunk is what we call practical steampunk. So the gears and anything you see in there, it's going to work. Our weapons could all actually be made because they are real. There's not just a bunch of gear slapped on just to look pretty, Our main inspiration for it, games like BioShock and Mad Max. So it's the dirtier type of almost post-apocalyptic steampunk. But yeah, that's really our art style on there. And our take on it as far as different from others is I've had a handful of people here today ask me if this was, BioShock Infinite's multiplayer. I mean, I take that as a compliment, but, it's not meant to be a direct clone of anything like that. But the art style, big fan of steampunk. I mean, anything from, Back to the Future and stuff like that, where in the third one where he's got the old stuff, or, 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, anything like that. It's all been just, take what you got and make it into something better kind of deal.
Interesting. One concept about, first-person shooters is obviously the weapons themselves. And you kind of briefly touched on how there's going to be some element of realism to it. Are gamers going to experience that when in the gameplay itself? I mean, you did mention to me earlier, this Steam kind of torch idea. I mean, tell us a little bit about that, and how it's going to be add a unique experience to your game.
Sure. So the steam gun that we have here, it's called a Boilermaker. It's our answer to a steampunk flamethrower. I
love that title, by the way.
Right? Yeah. It's I'm sure any adults, or maybe let's just stay with adults, are very familiar with it. But what it is, it's a gun with two tanks. One's your fuel, and then one's water. The fuel's superheating it, and then you're spraying that steam. It's going to have two settings similar to a fire hose, a cone and then a long jet. So you can either have a high area of effect with high damage, or a long stream that you can get range with. But yeah, it's just going to blast people away, and the steam effects on the screen and everything. But there it is right there, actually. It's had a handful of names since people really don't know what it is yet. It's been called the Super Soaker, the Water Tickle Gun, but that's probably the funnest part I've seen so far.
Based on the gameplay that you've seen with folks testing out your demo, which weapon would you say is the most used or seems to get the most, likes based on, the way it's being used in the game and the gamers' reactions?
Sure. So far, the most common ones are the shotgun and any of our two melee weapons, just because the melee right now, it's a one-hit kill, because obviously a little bit harder to get up to someone when they're shooting at you with all these things. The shotgun, very popular because at close range, like most games and like in real life, it's a pretty deadly machine. So, yeah.
Now, also again on the weapons, since you mentioned, weapons that a lot of gamers are used to, like shotguns, are there going to be anything like machine guns or rifles as well, I take it?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is steampunk.
Luckily, the guy playing on this one is just following right along with us. But, we do have an assault rifle, which is going to give you the machine gun type of effect. We even have some turrets, like you can see on the side here, which not active yet, but they will be for you to jump into and really lay into someone.
Really nice. Now, in addition to the weapons and some of the gameplay you mentioned, what kind of maps are you going to be presenting in your game? And will you have any, I know you mentioned something about a mech, will you have any other kind of vehicles, like maybe like blimps or anything like that? I mean, this themes that, gamers are familiar with steampunk?
Sure, so...
Or Zeppelins, I mean.
Right, yeah, absolutely. The airships you're seeing here...
Yeah, we're seeing some now, actually, on the level.
Yeah, so it's in a whole convoy. You'll actually, there's some that fly by and fight during the sequence too, but eventually you will see things, other vehicles you'll be able to jump onto. As far as some of the other maps go, we do make larger maps. One of the other ones we've worked on a lot is a forest village mining camp. It's not going to require a vehicle to travel to one end like other popular game, Battlefield, for example. If you don't have a vehicle, you're running for 10 minutes to get shot and then run 10 more minutes.
Good point, yeah.
So we're keeping them small enough to where when you do have to respawn and run back to the action, it's not that long. But we will add some vehicles that will be more than just transportation. They'll add a little something extra for the commander to do.
Interesting. Now, sure is one of the first things on any gamer's mind is this going to be strictly, since we're seeing multiplayer, a multiplayer only based kind of game, or will we see some single player action? It might be something on the side, even though multiplayer is the main focus. I mean, what kind of game are you developing, I guess?
So primary focus for us right now is the multiplayer on it. Eventually we've had a handful of requests for a single player mode, which wouldn't be too hard for us to do, but right now we're looking to just ship this out as the multiplayer mode. So.
Right on. And, also in terms of developing the game itself, and correct me if I'm wrong, I was under the impression that you're currently using the Unreal 2 engine, or something similar to that in developing your game?
So we're using it's a UDK, Unreal Development Kit, which is the newest version of Unreal Engine 3. So,
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know there's so many of them.
Yeah.
So same engine, or a very similar version of the engine that you would have on the newest games out there. So it really allows us to push our graphics, even next-gen options like DirectX 11, tessellation, all the cool things that if you do have a powerful computer, you'll really be able to get a lot of use out of it.
Now, using the Unreal Engine, do you find it very, consumer friendly for the developers yourselves, like in terms of trying to make ideas that come off paper, make it a reality, or do you find yourself having to jump through hoops?
So as far as Unreal Engine goes, it was coming from Source, it was a little bit of a culture shock for me. But once I got used to it, it's been very friendly to act the way we wanted to get what we want out of this game. I've seen a lot of people move engine to engine, but we're very happy with what we got here. It's going to allow us to do everything. The biggest part we like about it is the scale form integration, which is games like Borderlands where they have the awesome HUDs that are all 3D. That allows us to do that. And as you can imagine with an RTS, you need a powerful HUD to be able to do that. So
good point. Earlier we were discussing about the impact of SGC, and I think you mentioned this is one of your first trips coming out here. How do you think SGC's involvement in promoting indie gamers and their development, how do you think that's helped out Osiris Studios?
So as far as SGC, this first year I had no idea what to expect. I've been pleasantly surprised. They got an awesome following here. Everyone that's come up to us has been awesome. As far as their treatment on indie developers, they said any indie developer that wants to come, we got a free booth for you, so you can't ask for anything more than that.
Wow, that is really generous.
Yeah, so some other conferences that we're going to, such like RTX and PAX, don't really want to go into the cost on that, but free is awesome, so definitely a big plus. Great job, SGC.
All right. Well, you heard it here. And also, you were talking to me about, the connection it seems like all the indie gamers have and, having this common goal and promoting their ideas and putting it either on platform or PC. Do you feel like you're getting equally the same vibe from the people coming in, checking out your demo and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. We've had a lot of great responses here. This is the first time we've gone public with the game and let them play it. So we really didn't know what to expect, but it's been an awesome response. We've seen some people over here playing for over an hour. Real common theme. People like the guns. Some people don't understand it right off, but that's part of it being in alpha. But as far as the other developers, these guys here are awesome too. I mean, if anyone out there from Humble is watching this, we'd love to put together an SGC Humble bundle. But yeah.
That is really cool. And, lastly, one of the things, gamers and fans alike, especially for the ones first tuning in and finding out about Osiris Studios, in terms of, reachability and connectivity, I do believe you have a Facebook page, and do you have also I checked out your website, which is very interesting. Do you have any other ways or venues for gamers or potential fans to reach you guys and to reach out to you and further support you, even here at SGC?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always find us on either Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Just look for Osiris Studios, OSIRIS-Studios. We even have a Vine now. That's been the fun thing to play with. But just checking us out on Facebook. You can either look up Mist of Stagnation or Osiris Studios, and they'll both get you to the right place. We're actually going to be giving out some beta keys through this guy here. So if you want to get in the game, talk to him, and he'll hook you up.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for your time today, David. We definitely covered a lot of ground. As you can see behind us, folks, this is an amazing game. If you are fans of steampunk, first-person shooters, or just want to try a game that's entirely different, this is the one to check out, folks. And you're currently seeing it for the first time at SGC as well as MissionStartPodcast. So again, this wraps up this episode of That Cosplay Guy. I'm your host, Manny, and we look forward to seeing you on our next channel. Thank you.